Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 40. We've made 40 of these bad boys over the last year. Again, we celebrated our year anniversary of the website about 2 weeks ago.
Yep, about
Uh,
2 weeks ago.
I'm your host, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by.
David Allen, I just want to know, buddy, how you feeling? How you feeling at 40?
Uh, just as old as I was at 38 and 33 and late 20. I mean, it's all been downhill since 21. So I'm just enjoying being alive, healthy, and here today. I'm hoping all of our listeners, readers of the website, viewers of the podcast are all feeling similar ways. I know it's getting the end of the year. It's been a rough year for a lot of people, but we are glad you are joining us.
Yes.
You're here with us today. We appreciate your time and your consideration, as always. We have some stories for you today. We're not just a bunch of flattery. We actually have stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about iRacing and Microsoft collaborating on AI and throwing it in racing. We know that they use AI for flight simulator. We'll see what they can do for racing simulators as well.
Except for the voice on Flight Simulator, which they are catching a lot of flack for. That talking pilot, I have played the game. The talking pilot is terrible. Why they did not use AI on that is beyond me.
Well, we'll get into that as well when we cover this story. Another one of our headlines today is going to be about OpenAI getting ready to shove ads, or at least considering shoving ads into ChatGPT or some of their other AI services. And we're only in year 2. We're going to be starting year 3 of AI's hype, and they're already ready to monetize with ads. Could be a bad sign. We'll get into that. We'll also be talking about OpenAI. If you're contrarian to ads and you're like, you know what, I'll just pay for it. Are you willing to pay $200 for it? Because that's their other solution. We've gone from one extreme to the other, and neither one of them are good. But we'll talk about that. We're also be talking about Forza 4 on its final lap, and David's going to explain what that means in a little bit. We're going to be talking about the Surface Studio 2 Plus being the last all-in-one that Microsoft is seemingly going to make anytime soon. So if you haven't had a chance to get one, you better rush to eBay because those prices are about to skyrocket if you are still trying to get your hands on one of these underpowered, low performant, but stylistically impressive all-in-one
Yes.
devices from Microsoft. We're also be talking about Qualcomm's desktop coming not from Qualcomm, but we'll tell you who it's coming from soon. And we'll be talking about Xbox Game in Review, Game Year in Review. This is basically the month where everyone kind of throws out their recap of all the things you've done on their services and platforms, and the Xbox is no different. If those of you who are Spotify users, you're being inundated with those ads like, hey, check out your recap, watch and look for the stats of the same 7 songs you played over and over throughout 2024. And same thing for YouTube Music and all the other services that basically monetize your performance on them. So we'll talk about that. With all that being said, I've talked a lot. David, jump in, save me from rambling.
I'm gonna save you, buddy, and I'm gonna put you in a race car. At least AI thinks that's what they're gonna do. So, for those of you that aren't familiar, I am a big iRacing fan. I love the motorsport simulators. I'm not much of an arcade racer. My little niece and nephew do that type of thing for me, but I'm the more realistic racer. I want it to be as real as possible, right on down to the physics and the surroundings. And what iRacing does is they model things all the way down to the centimeter as much as possible, down to track dynamics, weather dynamics, how your race car and your track changes throughout the race, how you're doing versus other competitors is tracked real time. For you geeks out there that understand race cars, things like shock travel is calculated, things like your spring rates are calculated, how the weight shifts in your car. And you have, depending on which car you race, you have thousands of adjustments and combinations to choose from. So kind of sounds like something AI could get involved in, right? Mainly what iRacing has been you get online to race against your buddies, race against your friends, or race against strangers. But over the last couple years, they realized that sometimes people just want to get online and race or get online and practice. So there was been a big push in that for AI, some sort of something you could race without having to race against people, but without being the typical AI is stupid or AI is 5 miles an hour slower than the field, so you pass the entire field in less than 2 laps and you're just out there by yourself. So, in order to fix that, iRacing and Microsoft have teamed up for a large action model. This was the first time I had heard this term, but that's what they're calling it. So you have an action model, which is racing, and you have cars reacting. And Tony Gardner, the president of iRacing, said, "Our goal is to leverage the realism and quality of our existing product and build upon our market leading existing single player opponent AI and learn from the collaboration with Microsoft Research to create new and improved features." At the end of their press release, they said they would have more on this later, but being someone that has been with iRacing since day one, I've been there. They just gave me a 15th anniversary. Um, they're going to jump on this pretty quick. They don't tend to sit on their laurels over there. They want it out. They want people experiencing it. So I'm going to contact iRacing myself and see if I can get some more information on this because I'm interested. Maybe this is the first time we see, I don't want to say AI in gaming, but AI in a realistic simulator type sense. So I'm interested to see where they take this and how it benefits racers out there.
Yeah, I mean, it all sounds interesting. I, on the other hand, am a racer who loves to throw horned turtle shells at people. I like to fly my cars in inopportune times and use mushrooms. So probably all these benefits will be over my head. But it is pretty cool to see. Again, I've been saying this for years. Microsoft needs to be, or Xbox needs to be the home of simulation. Like that is, it seems to be like their bread and butter. It's what they're leaning into, and that is where they can merge, I think, elegantly their use of Azure, large language models, machine learning, all the things that they use for business in a very coherent, very strategic and cohesive way into gaming. Like that's, their gamings might be boring to some people if you're into shoot 'em ups or platformers, things of that nature. But for those of us who prefer simulators or things that are very close to it, like your Grand Theft Autos or things like that. This is where all of that processing power that they've been using, building up data centers and servers for business, can be leveraged in gaming in a very strong way, and something that they are already doing and can make better than to chase after these studios that they run after, buy up, and then they crap out games that nobody wants to play. That's just my opinion. It's probably not a very good one or a strong one when it comes to how they expand gaming wise. But I mean, they already bought Activision. They have the license to some of these franchises that have already established great gamers, and they can just continue with that. But I think their exclusives need to be these immersive, or the partnerships with these immersive simulator type games going forward. Uh,
Well, it's nice to see something other than text and image generation. I think,
for AI,
we're
yeah.
seeing a lot of that. We're seeing, look, you can complete your drawing, we can summarize this document or summarize this meeting or summarize this conversation, or we can look up facts and give you ideas and kind of take a guess at what you might want. I think that's part of the larger problem with AI is implementation, and not everybody needs what AI is being shown to do right now, and I think that's part of the issue. I mean, not everybody needs to generate images. Sorry Apple, but not everybody out there is a content creator. Not everybody.
What?
Yeah,
It's news to us.
not everybody needs a meeting summarized. So I think getting some of these AI investors paid for, whether it's iRacing or, as you mentioned, Xbox gaming, PC gaming, or some other type of, real life influence other than press one for accounting, press two for sales, and, stuff like that. Something that the public can interact with. You might get those AI bills paid a little faster.
Agreed. Totally agree. And we're going to move on to our next topic, which I think I have mistakenly had as the headline for this one because idiot. But with that being said, it is actually OpenAI is ready to clutter AI with ads. It's pretty self-explanatory. It is what we've kind of been hinting towards since the start of this podcast, the start of our website, even dating back to when we worked at our previous job at on Microsoft, is that AI has got to figure out a way to pay for itself. And to your previous statement, just seconds ago, um, it has to right now. It hasn't had a value proposition worthy enough to warrant money. I think in this aspect, we're about to run up against Samsung, who said, "Hey, at the start of 2025, you guys gonna start paying for some of this stuff." And I think few people have even made a worthy effort in using Samsung AI to the point where they say, "You know what? Charge me $4, $5, $9 for this stuff." Same thing with Google Gemini. But if you throw ads in there, maybe I'll use it for free. And this is all basically culminating from a story from the Financial Times that was reported earlier this week. In an interview with the Financial Times, Sarah Friar, who is OpenAI's chief financial officer, explained that OpenAI is looking for new, or quote unquote, new revenue sources while it continues to evolve into a mostly for-profit entity. Despite being worth about $150 billion, again, this is stock market valuation, not cold hard cash on hand. OpenAI has been snatching up advertisings from competing companies such as Google and Meta as it looks to pursue, quote, again, other revenue streams in the future. Fryer touted that her own advertising experience, apparently she has, of which she has plenty, from holding leadership roles at Nextdoor, Square, and Salesforce. And she's also leading on the company's chief product officer, Kevin Wheel, who helped build out support ad platforms for Instagram and X. Like between the two of them, they are pretty steeped in advertising. Again, we're talking about X and Instagram, so how well and effective those ads are is up for question. It's a wide varying range. I think Instagram advertising is pretty targeted. I think X advertising is scattershot. Sources familiar with the matter have also found that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman is warming up to the idea of some level of ad support in the future for this product. Essentially, Altman's reception to introducing his customers to ads makes more sense at a macro level because again, OpenAI continues just to burn through cash. If we were to reference numbers, I believe OpenAI basically generated about $4 billion of profit annually last year, or quarterly last year, while it annually slips, burned through $5 billion of that. So they are spending more money than they're obviously making. So being able to supplement this by getting advertisers to pay for the heavy resources that are necessary for OpenAI makes sense. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think something's got to happen here, and I think ads is what everybody turns to these days to pay an online bill. Whether it be a website. We don't have ads on our site, but websites have hosting to pay for. They have.
But we would love to.
Yes,
just saying.
We would. We absolutely would. But you can't keep turning to your investors for money, and you can't keep turning to these partnerships going, yeah, we need $10 billion just to keep going, while we're waiting on what we think's coming, what we think's going to happen. So eventually you've got to pay some bills. Yeah. I mean, the creditors are only going to let somebody stretch so far. So there's got to be a compromise here. And I think ads will end up being that compromise because for the most part, do people let me say this a different way. They care, but they don't care. I think ads have become an acceptance. We all accept ads in our apps. We all accept ads on our phones. We all accept ads in our browsers. So put them in there, make some money, float the ship a little longer, and see what happens. I don't see it as a detriment that people are going to run away from OpenAI because they put ads in there.
Now, they may not run away from OpenAI because of the ads, but what about the fact that it's being criticized? I believe its newest model, which is 0101, I forget, 01, I think it is being criticized for making basic arrows capabilities and its lack of reason capabilities, and that's their most advanced one. That's the one that they're willing to charge people for, to be like, in which I'll tell you in a second, a lot of money. If they gave you if they gave you a product, do you have a right to complain if it's free but sucks?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like that's where they're headed for. Like, hey, we gave you 01, and people are like, yeah, but it's garbage. It's like, well, it's free though. It's some advertising.
You
A bit of a
can't
quandary, right?
you can't throw in ads and have a crappy product.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I'm thinking of mobile gaming. There's still titles out there that do it, but we have seen customers, gamers, app users get upset because the game sucks, but there's 4 ads on every screen. So it's clear what you're trying to do there. And
Could
ahead.
this be behavioral engineering though? Could you say, hey, this is the crappy product. If you want a better one, open up that wallet.
Could be. I mean, it's kind of like the NZXT scam that happened this week. You kind of start with something crappy sometimes to get people to do something better. And how many times, for us old folks out there, how many times did we buy those shareware CDs that had the little demos of games and things we really wanted? Oh, then we went from freeware to shareware. And then, I had one of them. Everybody had a bulletin board
Yeah.
system with the shareware CDs. I had a CD changer, 6 discs deep, and I bought the shareware set from EB Games, so people could call my bulletin board and download their files.
When they say there's a sucker born every day, ladies and gentlemen, there is a reason for it. We are the
Exactly.
suckers. That doesn't come out of thin air. Well, with that being said, we do have a counter offer for those of you who are saying, well, it's free, stop complaining. To that idea of what happens if they want to put all the good stuff in the paid version, OpenAI is launching a $200 a month ChatGPT Pro subscription with exclusives for the 01 Pro mode.
Does it come with the AI person that's going to sit next to me and do the work?
That is again a very valid. I mean, for $200, they got to at least be doing that. They got to ship a person that's gonna have their own computer, because I $200 a month, I can't afford to buy them a computer. They got to bring their own computer or phone and do all the prompts for me. I just whisper to them. The way it is that OpenAI is kicking off a 12-day announcement of ChatGPT Pro. And it's again, $1,200 a month subscription for researchers, engineers, and other enthusiasts interested in getting priority access to the company's cutting-edge AI models. At the launch, ChatGPT Pro offers unlimited access to OpenAI's O1 model, O1 Mini, GPT-4o, and advanced voice, plus a new O1 Pro mode with even more capabilities. Quote, in evaluations from external expert testers, O1 Pro mode produces more reliably accurate and comprehensive responses, especially in areas like data science, programming, and case law analysis. Compared to both O1 and O1 Preview, the O1 Pro mode performs better than challenging machine learning benchmarks across math, science, and coding. It seems like they've fixed what was wrong with the free version, but at $200 a month. And again, this isn't designed for you and I. This is apparently designed for researchers who just have grants that are burning holes in their pockets. What are your thoughts on that? On having a paid version? This is the
There's a
extremes we're talking about: free, paid. This is all that AI is going to be living in.
there's a place for this. There is a place for a $200. I'll say that there's a place for maybe something more expensive, but you're gonna have to prove it, and you're going to have to prove it consistently. And I could see researchers, medical researchers, data analysts, data researchers that could really benefit from this, but the models are going to have to be clean, meaning you acquired this data in these models by holistic means and you didn't upset anybody to do it, and they've got to be accurate, and the company or person using a model at this level has probably got some kind of income that is able to subsidize their their $200 or more investment. You know, I think of mailers, back in the day, and still sometimes today, you used to get mailers of advertisements in your mailbox, and
Mhm.
somebody had to sort through that data. Sure, it was a mail merge in the end, in Excel or something, but somebody had to sort through that data to determine who gets what. And when you mail things out to like a zip code or a demographic, somebody has to collect that data and get that data together, so, or, like Nielsen ratings, somebody has to collect that data and get that data together and then organize it in a way that when it goes into the meeting, everybody can digest it. So if these companies are using these pro models for that and it's accurate, I can see a place for that.
All right. Well, here's a couple more details. ChatGPT Pro subscribers will be able to select the new O1 Pro mode in the model picker when asking a question, just kind of like we used to have like the tones or whatever. Or I think even when the Copilot was first using less branding, you could be able to choose responses directly from ChatGPT versus Copilot. I think you'll be able to switch to Pro mode in that fashion. Uh, to provide more reliable responses, OpenAI's most intelligent model will take a bit more time to respond to queries. So again, if time is money and your money's $200 a month, they gotta cut that down drastically, probably. OpenAI said that it's planning to add more capabilities to this new ChatGPT Pro model plan in the future. Quote, we'll also continue to bring many of these new capabilities to our subscribers. There are a couple interesting updates about ChatGPT for users of the O1 model, which include preview ChatGPT, this newest model, which is supposed to be apparently smarter and faster. But again, we're already hearing complaints of some of the inaccuracies that it's producing. Uh, so I wish them well. Again, we're watching how companies are trying to monetize this. Microsoft's in a very similar situation where they're charging uh, for consumer versions that have more capabilities, more tie-ins to their software, which again, OpenAI doesn't necessarily have right now. I think it's been rumored that they're about to try to release an AI-infused web browser. So I'm sure Google doesn't have a word to say about that because that would cut directly into theirs if you can just download OpenAI's web browser and do all of the semi searches that you would have done with Google Chrome or whatever, uh, and you get better responses and somehow present the web differently. Or maybe they just have ads that are much cheaper to purchase, and you get advertisers flocking there. Who knows? But I am interested to see how 2025 produces or what it comes to the surface as far as a viable plan for the continuance of AI.
But I agree. I want to know what those viable plans are. Um, and this is something I've brought up before, and I see one problem, and I don't know how to fix this problem. Um, there's too many public models.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is you have Copilot, you have Copilot Pro, you have Gemini, you have Gemini Pro.
Mhm.
Meta's got theirs. Meta's got their Pro version. And what we haven't figured out yet is consumers use different things. Like, for example, I have the Gemini Pro subscription,
Mhm.
but I have another Google Workspace account.
Mhm.
That Gemini Pro subscription that I'm paying for my personal account to get access to Gemini Pro for my personal data and on my phone does not cross over to my Google Workspace account. There needs to be, Google says there needs to be a second subscription for that. And Microsoft does the same thing.
Mhm.
You can't get Copilot Pro personal and then, for example, use that same subscription in our Microsoft 365 account. So I understand that, they need to charge businesses appropriately. But I think it has been forgotten that some consumers have business level accounts for home businesses, personal businesses, small businesses that maybe use multiple services but can't pay for or don't want to pay, and I can't blame them, multiple subscriptions to multiple language models. I go in and out of Outlook several times a day. I go in and out of Microsoft products several times a day. I go in and out of Google products several times a day. But in order to do that, I've got to pay each one, both personal and business. I feel like that's going to end up being an issue too in 2025 that's going to have to be dealt with. And I'm interested to see how they're going to deal with that.
Yeah, I think that's a broader conversation. Maybe we'll dedicate a specific pod to covering the prosumer, which is I feel like a myth, a fallacy that's conjured to sell a product, sell several products, but not actually appease the user themselves by categorizing them as a pro user, pro consumer, pro user, um, because to your point, that is what one account should appease. Like you're a professional who also consumes stuff, who is a customer, just a regular user, but you also have a job, and you should have one account that should be able to cross over versus separating you as to he's just a consumer and this guy is also just a worker, and they have two separate accounts that don't use for the similar sort of situations or tasks. So we'll talk about that another time. Let's get into our next story, which is Forza Horizon 4, Forza Horizon 4 is on its finals lap. What does that mean? Because you wrote that headline. Bear it out for
What
us.
what that means is, unfortunately, Forza Horizon 4, and it with a T or with a Z, take your choice there, is on its way out the door. So I put the heading up there that it's on its final lap. So what's going on here is middle of the month, December the 14th, I believe, Forza Horizon 4 is going away digitally. And I had to read this twice to make sure I understood that, because seeing a product come off the shelf is different than seeing it going away digitally. And even Microsoft is saying they're not going to turn the servers off. There's no turn off date on the servers. So what the developers are saying do is, hey, go get your game. It's up to 80% off depending on what version you have. Now remember, there's the standard version, the premium version, and the deluxe version. When you buy the premium and deluxe version, you get all of the downloadable content with it. And if you currently have the standard version, you still get a discount on the premium or deluxe version. So it's interesting to me We're going to keep the servers on. We're going for a deep discount here. We're putting a deadline on the digital title. But why? If you're going to keep the servers on, why not let people continue to purchase the game? Why take that income away? Now, I have perfectly seen games go away when servers are being discontinued. Yes, I have seen plenty of that. EA is the world's worst. But I don't get it. There's no plan at this time to turn the servers off. They're encouraging people to make purchases, and the game's going away. It reminds me of Titanfall 2, except Titanfall 2 kind of did the opposite. For some reason, the game was still for sale, but Microsoft and EA agreed to turn the servers off, and that ended up being just a clustered mess. So, guess what? Got any new friends on Forza Horizon 4? They better get they better get the game, or you'll just have to race without them.
Yeah, this is the is it DRM situation where they are again testing their Netflixification of gaming, being able to put games out and take games off of the past digitally, off their platform digitally. And I'm sure they've spoken with their developers on new features or anything like that coming down the pipe, which it looks like they're nixing any of that. So now they're just in support mode, keeping already current data, which can be rolled over to perhaps other Forza games as far as the individual racer is concerned. And they're keeping the servers on for that. But as far as the game going forward, it is presumably done for a while. They may bring it back, and that's the reason why they keep the servers on. To celebrate an anniversary or another tie into another Forza game at some point. But I think going forward, they're just saying, hey, we don't need to add anybody new because we need to push them onto our newer game, our newer versions of this game in the franchise, versus letting them sit and digitally play this, bankrupt game, so to speak. That would be my guess, a business aspect of it. I'm sure they get down to a skeleton crew that monitors the servers versus the developers who are now moved on to what other version of Forza or racing game that Microsoft has in the future.
We'll have to wait and see.
We do. Here's another thing that's been put on in the graveyard of Microsoft products. We have the Surface Studio Plus 2 or Surface Studio 2 Plus all-in-one PC being done. It's done for. No more productions. And if you're scratching your head going, I thought it was already done. Welcome to my world. I was scratching my head going, okay, did this need to be announced? I guess officially it did because there are some Microsoft fans, I included, who want Microsoft to produce some of their old hits like the Lumia, the Surface Studio, even the Surface Buds. My Surface headphones broke the other day, and I'm saddened because I can't get a replacement. Yeah. So there are those of us who are out there who need to be told, go away, get over it, it's done. And I think this is what this announcement's for, unfortunately. Microsoft has stopped manufacturing the Surface Studio 2 Plus, which was the latest version that they released all the way back in 2024. The premium workstation launched with a almost $4,500 price tag. I think it was $4,499 at the beginning, and that was for your basic model. Microsoft basically said, quote, customers can continue to purchase Surface Studio 2 Plus through retailers and partners with stock, but basically saying, hey, we are not producing it anymore in-house. And that's someone who spoke with our guys over at Windows Central for that comment. Quote, for areas reaching out of stock, Surface Studio Plus will no longer be available for new purchases. So even your retailers won't be getting their hands on new, fresh stock. So I think we mentioned this at the top. If you or maybe we mentioned this off mic, it's hard to tell which one is which because we talk so often. If you were looking to buy one of these, you can either go to, what is it, Egghead? Is that a place?
It used to be Egghead is kind of dated. You must be talking about Newegg.
That's correct. go to Newegg, go to eBay, go to your Facebook marketplaces and see if you can scrounge one of these up before. I think the announcement came out yesterday, day before yesterday. So the prices may have already skyrocketed. But if you were in search of a articulating display, one of, everyone keeps saying one of the best ones out there, with a mediocre PC connected to it, try and grab yourself one. What are your thoughts on them canceling this alongside other things like the Surface Duo 3, Surface Earbuds 2, any of these other potential products that we will no longer get a chance to, back when Microsoft was in its heyday of making hardware or testing, at least testing on hardware?
It's a part of product evolution, and every once in a while you get some good products in there that are cool, such as this one, or that do neat things, such as the phone. But this product was a niche product, that if you were an artist or somebody that needed that type of canvas to do your digital work, it was the thing to have. This was, in my opinion, not the product to sit on your desk and do Excel spreadsheets and, maybe a little bit of video editing, because, like you said, it kind of lacked in power. I think the other problem is Microsoft knew that this was a niche product because it never even got Black Friday sales or anything like that I noticed. It was a $4,000 product the whole time, and still is a $4,000 product. And like I said, I know there's niche people out there for it, but there's better offerings for a
Yeah,
lot of things that don't cost you $4,100. I think if Microsoft could have kept this price competitive a little better, and maybe they couldn't. Maybe there was something with that hinge or with that screen that, hey, we've got maybe there was some manufacturing agreement. Who knows? But I find it weird that, Microsoft did a heck of a job doing some Copilot PC deals, even on the Surface this past week for Black Friday. But they never, that I recall, and somebody leave me a comment or drop me an email if I'm missing it, I never recall seeing a deal on this thing here. And I always wondered why, because I always wanted one.
yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, I think again, when you and I talked, this one I do remember being off mic on that, is that Microsoft needed to sell the monitor.
Yeah.
They needed to figure out a way to make a stand, essentially, not base it on the computer, and offer that articulating screen to anybody who wanted to hook up. And if you wanted to make sure that you got low latency for between, pin and touch on the screen, then maybe you demand that it only be connected through Thunderbolt 4, I think was the highest one at the time. Maybe that's the requirement. Maybe they don't do HDMI. Maybe there is no optical in that specific way. It's only Thunderbolt. Any computer or PC that can support that, or HDMI 2.1 requirements. But that's what you do: is you make that hinge, you make that screen, and you sell it. And you sell it to Mac people, you sell it to Linux people, you sell it to Chrome people, you sell it to Windows people, because people loved. At least that was the most regarded aspect of this all-in-one. You didn't really hear about the speakers, you didn't hear about the CPU itself, because again, they when they released the first version, it was a mobile processing unit that they had in there to begin with. That wasn't very powerful. They beefed it up a little bit in the second one, but they also offered better specs on the Surface Laptop Studio, the laptop version of this thing, so people could hook up that thing to this monitor. And going forward, I think if you wanted to charge $1,000 for this monitor alone, Microsoft could have made their money back on this thing. Or maybe if it cost you more than that, maybe it's a $2,000 monitor because it's got the whole, what was it? I forget, what was the screen size of this thing?
28.
Yeah, it was at least 24 inches, I think 24, 27-inch monitor. It was all pin enabled. So again, artists would have bought this thing, and they could still use, if they wanted to, their Wacom as well in conjunction with this. It's something that I think Microsoft's stubbornness in wanting to have it only be branded as an all-in-one kind of fell for it. But in the end, it's easier for people to replace laptops and tablets than it is to replace an all-in-one. and all-in-one is a big investment. It's a long-term investment, and Microsoft didn't give it the specs for it to warrant that same long-term investment. You weren't buying a Surface Studio 2 Plus and saying this thing is going to last me 5 to 10 years, like people who buy iMacs are.
Well, Apple figured this out. You know, they sold the, what was it, the iMac Super Screen? I forget what they called that thing. Yeah,
There's a Studio something or other.
and then, you know, when they come up with the M series of Macs, they came out with that studio screen that they have. That's it's a $1,500 screen, but
Oh no, I think it's
Microsoft,
5,000, isn't it?
no, that's the Pro XDR. They
Fair enough.
they
Yeah.
they do have a new studio screen out that's $1,500. I
Okay.
was actually looking at it this morning, and it's the 5K, you know, that you typically expect from Apple. But what was interesting was it has a dock in the back of it, the full Thunderbolt dock with the USB ports and, you know, all of your accessories, and you plug it into your Mac with one cord, and you've got all your, you know, stuff. Microsoft could have done the same thing right here. They could have, as you mentioned, they could have took that screen, put a dock in the back of it, USB-C, Thunderbolt, whatever, like you said, whatever the digitizer needed to be as low latency as possible, or maybe it didn't need that. I don't know. I'm not, the tech guy that says, okay, a digitizer needs 2 gigabit, 1 gigabit, whatever. But Microsoft could have sold this and put a $1,000 price tag on it. And based on watching people buy that Mac Studio display, that's the name of it. Watching people buy that Mac Studio display, Windows users would have done the same thing.
Agreed.
And
Definitely.
it would have been cool if you could have crossed them over.
Yeah. I
And
mean, and the segue into our
the
next.
Mac
Go
user
ahead.
could have bought the Windows screen and had touchscreen.
There you go. Solved everyone's questions and comments and concerns. Segueing into our next topic, though, people they could have used their Qualcomm desktop that could be coming from Geekom
Yeah,
with this new monitor.
this it kind of surprised me, but it didn't surprise me. The Geekcoms of the world, the minis forum of the world, and just do a search for mini PCs. Let me say that. You'll see that a lot of these companies are Chinese makers. They're reputable. They have very good business models. They sell a lot of PCs. We have reviewed a Geekcom PC or two on the website. I still have one of their Geekcom PCs in service right now. Great little mini PC. But what these companies tend to do is do something outside of the box because they can, number one, and they don't have to produce the yields of Dell, HP, and our bigger OEM, so they can kind of afford to try things. And we've been waiting on Qualcomm to do something with the desktop, and we thought we had it with the dev kit that was recently canceled because it was not up to Qualcomm standards, supposedly. So Geekom, with very little information on release date or anything like that, is coming out with the first Qualcomm powered mini PC. They're going to call it the Geekom QS series, and supposedly this comes from videocards.com. It will be with the Snapdragon X Elite CPU, so that would be the top end CPU. And supposedly, if they could produce the Snapdragon Elite, it would be very easy to produce maybe a more cost efficient model with the Snapdragon Plus CPU. Now, normally when you see the Geekcoms and the Minis forums do things, because they don't have marketing tied up into it, because they don't have all of the shipping and tariffs and all that good, the machines are always a little bit cheaper than what we can get from our Dell, HP, Lenovo vendors over here in the US. Now, I want to see this, but there's also the question of what's the purpose? Because if you put a Snapdragon chip in a desktop, Snapdragon is known for being battery efficient. There's not a battery in a desktop. So the question can be made, what is the catch here? My thing is, Mac Mini comes to mind. The Mac Mini M4, Mac Mini M3. It's small, it's efficient. So if you come up with something that is small, powerful, inexpensive, that's a little different. If you've got your Intel model up there, $500-$600, and you put your Snapdragon model down there, $450, and I've even seen them slide some AMD models down in the high 300s. If you can do that, you've got something that competes, I think, at that level. Now, normally Geekom is not going to get themselves in the office. They're going to be consumers and enthusiasts such as Kareem and myself. But this is a start. And I think it's a good start because if it does well, Dell, Lenovo, HP, they're watching, they're purchasing too. Oh, this is neat. Let's see what we can do with this. Let's see if we can make this mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also a replacement for a lot of old or aging COVID pandemic setups for people who went out and bought
Yes.
these dedicated PCs. It brings forth one thing that Intel doesn't have necessarily, I guess a handful of things, which is all of the Copilot Plus additives, all of the Windows Studio effects, all of the recall eventually when that gets released. This is stuff that isn't at least not slated for current Intel models, and we don't know when they're going to release it for this Intel Lunar Lake or AMD stuff. So if you're someone who is becoming adept at using some of these Copilot or AI kind of things that make use of your TOPSs or whatever, as you do other work, instead of bogging down or pressuring your main CPU to handle all of that, this is what these things are going to be designed for, I suspect, going forward, where they will make the differentiation between an Intel-based or an AMD-based mini PC that sits on a desk. Again, to your point, not about battery. I think this is going to be more about feature sets and support for those. So we'll see what Geekom does. Maybe we're going to reach out to them again and see if we can start getting some of these into test, and we can be more definitive on why these are different than the Intel or AMD ones currently on the shelves. With that being said, we're going to get to our last story, which is, and it could be, depending on how the week shapes out, the last story of 2024 from us to you guys, and from Microsoft to everyone else, basically. Microsoft Xbox gamers can now check out their year in review, the annual. Seeing how well you did over the past year is amongst us. This is this season. December is the month at which you get all your year reviews from, apps and websites that you frequented mostly throughout the year. For gamers, what they'll be able to do is see their personalized stats for each user, including most played games, total hours played, and top achievements. There's a new feature that's included that allows you to customize the look based on most games played. So basically filter out the way you see your achievements or gaming stats. There are also some Game Pass and Xbox Reward stats that'll be included that you can kind of sort through and compare with your friends and other fellow gamers to see who was better at gaming throughout 2025, at least from a sheer volumes perspective. Xbox CEO Phil Spencer shared his own stats, which I believe, let me see if I got a screenshot of that for those who are watching up here. There we go. About how well he did throughout the year. So again, the man was able to play 650 hours while leading one of the largest gaming platforms out there. That's actually impressive because I don't even think I have that much, and I sit at home a lot at night sometimes. So
think about it. That's averaging 2 hours a day almost.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, unless he just binges over the weekend and ignores his family, which I think that is the dream of a lot of gamers, but not the reality. As a gamer yourself, what are you looking forward to seeing as part of your stats? And not just for the Xbox, but in general, if someone could show you something specific about your gaming preferences.
For a lot of people, it's the KD ratio on Call of Duty. They keep track of that KD ratio. They keep track of that gamer score. Me, I'm an old man. I know I suck. But I'm having a good time. Um, I would want to see things like cloud gaming hours.
Okay.
Stuff like that. It's not for me. It's not necessarily one statistic. For a game. I now to go back to our first story. You get me on iRacing. My numbers over there mean something to me. But as far as because that's to me, that's a different level of competition. When I get on my Xbox, I play hard, but I don't pay attention to my kill death ratio. If I die 12 times and only kill one person, believe me, I know that happened. I don't need a stat. I don't need a
Yeah, right.
stat to tell me
Here's a
that.
reminder.
And if I'm playing Flight Simulator and I crash the plane,
Let's get a stat for that, shall we?
you know, I
I
know
want
that,
funny
but
titles for these stats as well.
for me, where I played, was I on a handheld? Was I on my PC? Was I cloud gaming? Was I playing the BattleNet launcher? That is interesting to me because to me that shows how people's habits are changing, how services are changing. And as we keep harping on it, I'll say it maybe the last time in 2024, are we really moving to new mediums? Are we really moving to handhelds? Are we really moving to cloud gaming? Because the developers, Microsoft, Sony, etc., will be staring at these numbers to figure out what we want and what's next. So would be interested, how have my own habits changed, and did I game less last year or more than I did this year? Those are things that I like to know at my age. Now, you ask somebody 10, 15 years younger than me, they want to know how many Call of Duty games they won and how many kills they got and what that ratio was. I get it. I'm just not that person.
Yeah, no, and even you're even more astute and serious about your stats than me. I wanted a stat for like how often my controller disconnected from the game, and then I wanted for how long, because then I could distinguish which games I fell asleep in, and then
That's true.
I could present that to anybody in the lobby who wants to add me in on the team. Like, this guy falls asleep quite often. How many inadvertent unalives have I had just standing in the corner of mini games? So I want these kind of stats. Like, those are the ones that count. Like, how often does this guy sleep at the wheel? Uh, but again, maybe I will share my stats on Blue Sky this weekend with you guys. You can see how poorly of a gamer I've been throughout 2024, and I will make a resolution. Perhaps I won't follow it about being a better gamer, and we can hold me to account because we can show these stats again at the end of next year, see if I've even done any better than that. Hopefully, Microsoft will give me a reason to do better games, better offerings, more deals. Who knows?
Maybe
With that
maybe
being,
at our age we just need Pac-Man. How many dots did we eat?
I know, sadly, I'm almost invested in. I'm invested in getting a Nintendo Switch, which will cut into my stats on the Xbox, unfortunately, because I don't know when Microsoft will get their hands on this Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Edition extravaganza that's being released for the Switch, and I believe PlayStation. Uh, so whenever Microsoft can give me an announcement, I can go back to the Xbox because that is my game. That is the one when I was in high school that I must have spent thousands of dollars on in quarters alone playing. So, and again, my stats might improve. Who knows? If they can get that game on that platform, it's a win-win for both of us. I play more, my stats get better, they get my attention. Again, with that being said, we want to thank everybody for joining us for another semi-slow week, but a week nonetheless of Xbox news. You can catch me at Happy Hulk on Blue Sky. I am no longer on Twitter, so don't look for me there. But if you need to find me anywhere else, you can find me at Kareem Anderson on Threads and Instagram, or you can just go to the website, drop a mention in any of the comment sections, and I will gladly respond to you. Where can people find you, David?
As well as on the website, feel free to drop a comment. But I'm David PAJ1978. I do still have the Twitter account for the sake of it being active. I have not officially discontinued it, but like my buddy here, I have moved to Blue Sky and started getting an idea of how that algorithm works and kind of seeing what triggers that algorithm and what doesn't. For me, I know everybody has different tastes. For me and tech, Blue Sky is where I want to be right now.
Yeah. So like I said, you can find us there. You can always come to the YouTube channel, check comments, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, and leave a comment or a like there for us as well. Like I said, this may or may not be our last podcast of the year. We'll see if we can squeeze in one more for you guys. If we don't, we want to wish you a happy 2024 on the way out and a welcoming 2025. And we will see you in the new year. Either way, take care.
Have a good weekend, everybody, and happy holidays.